here with my 2019 Alfa Romeo Giulia Q4 sedan, and this is going to be my final update on this sports sedan that I've been leasing for the last year and a half. Given the situation that the country's facing right now, and frankly the world's facing, car deals have been pretty good recently, and I'm going to be leasing a new car, a 2020. And I'm going to be taking delivery of it in a few days. So I want to do a quick video on this car, just wrapping up my overall thoughts on this and highlighting all the issues that I've had. Just kind of giving you guys a brief overview on what I thought of it. So I've had this car for about 39,500 miles and for about 1 year and 6.5 months. It's a 2019. It was built in October of 2018. In Rosso Red, Q4 sedan, Harman Kardon stereo, has the base alloy wheels for North America, 2-liter, 280 horsepower turbocharged engine, Ford collision warning, and Rosso, red and leather interior as well. And that's pretty much all the options I have on it. And just to go over some of the issues I've had with it, I guess the day I took delivery of this car, it actually had a disconnected rear door handle. The outside door handle wouldn't actually release. It works fine now, obviously, but I had to get that fixed about 2 or 3 weeks after I took delivery of it. It would open from the inside, but it would not open the door from the outside door handle. It probably got disconnected during transport, or it just fell through the cracks during the pre-delivery inspection. Let's see what else. We had a few other issues with it as well. Had the infotainment crash twice during the time I had it, and for a new car, actually, the infotainment system that reboots only twice in the first year and a half is actually pretty good. These cars nowadays are so technologically advanced and have all the fancy radios that they often have a few bugs and glitches, but it crashed twice, and then since I've had a infotainment update done about a year ago, no issues since. Just to go over another thing I guess I noticed is that the seats have worn a little prematurely, especially on my side of the vehicle, the driver's side. You can tell there's a little bit of wrinkling over here. Passenger side is not nearly as bad, as you can tell, maybe on the front bolster. This car, it's been a little wrinkly here near the back of the bottom cushion, but probably from getting in and out of the car. But I'm not exactly a big guy. I'm 6 feet tall, 180 pounds, so not super big. And I guess anybody who's bigger might have these seats might be worn out even worse after only 40,000 miles. So that's my only visual concern with the car. Otherwise, everything else has held up well on the outside. So the first year or so that I had the car, first 8 months or so I had the car, it really didn't have a lot of problems up until about, the car had like 18,000 miles on it, and then I started having a few other issues. The battery drained over 48 hours for no reason. I'm not exactly sure why. The battery just suddenly discharged, and I had to get roadside assistance, had to come and jump the car. The dealer couldn't find anything wrong with the battery. They kept it over a weekend. Found no discharging issues with the battery. The battery itself, state of charge was good, so no root cause on that. Then I had a check engine light about 10 months ago, mid-July, maybe 11 months ago, and that check engine light led to a charcoal EVAP canister that had been had water intrusion issues. Apparently these, and especially the Giulias, and to some extent the Stelvios, have water intrusion issues with the EVAP canister, and that's part of the fuel system. So you end up not getting the correct venting of the gas tank back to the engine, and then there's like a pressure discrepancy, and it trips a check engine light, and it leads to basically a canister that's full of water. The dealer weighs it and finds out how much it weighs against the other canister that is the standard Planet Record canister. So that issue was fixed after about a week at the dealer. The canister is only like 200 bucks, and with labor and tax and stuff, it comes out to like 320 bucks to replace that part. So it's not terrible for the price, considering it, check engine light, fuel system issue, but it's more of an inconvenience, and I had to get a loaner car, which was a Stelvio, which I actually really enjoyed driving for a week. Then let's see, August of 2019, I had a flat tire on the right side here, right front flat tire, the Pirelli Cinturato P7 all-season run flat. Got a slice in the tire. I hit a pothole, and unfortunately right on the edge of the pothole, and it made like a centimeter deep groove or slice in the sidewall, and I was really surprised that the tire was still holding air, but the dealer was nice enough to replace that for free, since I've only had the car for 10 months at that time. So they replaced the front tire. For most people, that would be about a $220 expense for these 17-inch tires. I had a recall for the fuel gauge. Apparently, if you leave the car sitting for 30 minutes on a steep incline, like if you're in San Francisco or in the mountains, it can actually, you turn the car back on and it might actually read that you have half a tank or more of fuel, and you really only have like a quarter tank or less. And you can actually run out of fuel because it's not the correct level that it's reading. So that was a recall that was done in August of 2019. Now for probably my biggest issue that I had with it was actually in September of 2019. I was on a road trip, and about 7 hours into the road trip, I had probably a third of a tank of fuel left, 200 miles to empty, and all of a sudden the check engine light came on, and I was doing 70 miles an hour on the highway. Check engine light came on, and I was like, oh, I got 15 minutes till my destination. I can make it with the check engine light, it'll be okay. And then about 5 minutes later, luckily I had pulled over to the right lane of the highway. I lost power trying to go up an incline. The cruise control was on. All of a sudden it was dropping from 70, 69, 68, 67. And I hit the gas to try to re-accelerate, and the car actually completely just did not accelerate. It just lost power. So I pulled over off the highway, gave it like 10 minutes, cycled the front door, tried to reset the computers that way while I was on the side of the road, restarted the car, it started up fine, check engine light was still there. I was able to get back on the highway and get up to about 60, 65 miles an hour, and then take side roads the rest of my way. And after a few key cycles, the check engine light went away. After the road trip, I got back to Michigan, where I reside, and I went to the dealer, and they found that there was a P0002 code, which is like a incorrect fuel control volume actuator. It's something where the ECU asks for a certain amount of fuel from the fuel pump, and the fuel pump gives the wrong amount to the engine, and it trips a code, puts the car in the limp home mode. So, the check engine light was gone, but that was a stored fault code. They had an engineer actually come to the dealer, take a look at the car, and hook up some sensors to the fuel lines, and found that there was no discrepancy against the nominal fuel flow that goes through the fuel lines. So they couldn't find a root cause, which was unfortunate, but that's what happened there. A few months later, so I went a few more thousand miles without any problems, and then back around January of 2020, I was on the highway. So I was stuck on the highway, stuck in traffic, semi behind me. The car shut off like normally. It was probably in the 30-degree temp range, so the start-stop system was turning off the engine when it came to a stop. And traffic started moving again. I took my foot off the brake. Car was supposed to restart. It took about 3 seconds, and I got up to like 15 or 12 miles an hour, and the car's just trying to crank over. And finally, after like 3 or 4 seconds, the car like restarted, and it was totally fine after that. But it was just really weird how the start-stop system sort of couldn't turn the engine over for those 3 to 4 seconds. And I was, on the highway rolling, semi behind me. So went to the dealer. They did a PCM and TCM update as part of a TSB that came out in December of 2019. And that fixed a few of the P0002 code, which is actually a known issue for this car. That was when it stalled on the highway in September of last year. And it also worked on the stop-start system and put the new programming in that the 2020 models have. So that TCM PCM update made a big difference. It really helped the start-stop system perform better, and I was thrilled that it actually made a good difference. Then right before the coronavirus really took hold of the US, on March 13th, I went into the dealer one last time for a ticking noise from the steering column, and it was really odd. It was only if you cranked the wheel more than 180, 270 degrees or so, and they found that the ribbon was binding in the clock spring, so they had to replace the steering wheel clock spring. There was also an issue with the stop-start system, again, not turning off and on the engine when it was, well above freezing. They found that there was a loose ground on the negative terminal of the battery in the trunk. They tightened that ground, and the battery, within a half an hour, fully recharged back up to 100%. Stop-start system started working again. So a few issues with the stop-start system, if you can't tell, but mostly little minor issues and software updates that really kind of resolved those problems. And then there was another issue where the dealer, during that same visit, did not put the correct oil level into the engine, because there's no dipstick that a customer can use to measure the oil level in these cars. It's all on the infotainment system display in the center screen. So the dealer did not put in the correct oil level, and then I went to a different dealer and they said it was like 0.64, 0.65 quarts below the full level. So they actually they said they just drained the entire oil, did a fresh oil change. They did it the right way, reprogrammed the infotainment system display, and did another TCM PCM update as part of a few other fine tunings for the stop-start system and the powertrain module. And they did a recall, which I believe is like W02 recall. You can find it on NHTSA's website at nhtsa.gov, but it's like a customer satisfaction recall where they adjusted the programming for the cooling system on the car so that when you turn off the engine, it runs for about 5 minutes to cool off the turbos a little bit more, and ends up improving the durability and longevity of your turbocharged engine. So I was glad that they fixed that. So I've had all the recalls, all the TSBs done on this car. Yeah, so I've had probably 3 or 4 TSBs and 2 recalls done. And if you're interested in this car, I will provide you guys the VIN if you're interested, because this car will eventually be for sale as a used car. There you go. So that way you guys can find it and on Car Gurus, Auto Trader, whatever site you guys use for used cars. And if you guys want to get probably a good deal on this, I'm sure these cars are in the low $20,000 range with the flood of used cars from the Hertz bankruptcy, on top of the good deals during all this coronavirus time. I'm gonna get this thing washed, and overall it's been a great car. I've really enjoyed it. The dealer, dealers I've been going to in Michigan are really good about fixing these, doing the TSBs, doing the software updates. So I have no complaints about those guys really, except for the oil change with the oil level, but that was a one-off case. This car had a few bugs, but I know for the 2020 models, a lot of these issues were fixed with these software updates and TSBs and recalls. They're all in the 2020 models already. So, but this car, like I said, I got them all done on this car. So if you guys are interested in getting this thing, you guys got the VIN, which you can find earlier in the video. We'll just do a little startup here. As you can tell, 39,435 miles. Starts up really nice. I keep this thing relatively clean and rarely have passengers, so this has good technology. The Harman Kardon stereo has the small screen in the center, but up until 2020, the 2017 through 19 miles weren't really known for like an amazing infotainment system, so I don't think you're missing out on much with the 6.5-inch screen. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this video, and I will be revealing my new car in the coming weeks. And it's a 2020, and if you like sports sedans and you like European sports sedans, I think you're going to really like this new car that I'm getting. So just stay tuned for that. And if you have any questions or comments, put them in the section below. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.